What's up, guys? This is Ligardy of Ligardy's Hats coming to you guys from JJ Hat Center. Hope you all had a fabulous week. Welcome to episode 2 of Hat Masters, our weekly series where we come through and discuss all things hat. This week, we're going to be skipping the introductions and heading straight into things because our subject today is of the utmost importance. As a hatter, one of the main things we have to consider is hat care. Caring for your hat or hat maintenance can either make or literally break your hat. So today I'm going to make sure I put everything into my power to bring you everything there is to know in regard to keeping your fedoras clean and in tip-top shape. Because I believe when in tough times, my motto is that the days that you feel the worst are the days that you have to look your best so that you're always winning. So with that being said, the first things first is the handling of your hat. Taking care of your hat is important. So one of the things that you don't want to do is you don't ever want to start grabbing your hat by the pinch here, okay? When you start grabbing your hat by the pinch, it actually ultimately negatively affects the hat. Though it seems as if it's a great point in which you can grab your hat, it almost seems like it's made for your hand. You see it in movies, you see it on TV, and you see it amongst a whole bunch of different things all the time. Grabbing the hat by the pinch is actually one of the worst things that you could actually ever do to your hat. What you want to do when you're handling the hat is you want to hold your hat by the brim. You can either handle it by the side of the brim here, like how I have, or you can go front to back. It's kind of cooler to go front to back, right? Because then you kind of get that kind of effect. You see it in movies all the time when the guy puts on his hat from front to back, and it's really, really cool. Another one of the things that you don't want to do is you don't want to take your hat out in inclement weather. You don't want to be handling your hat in extremely rainy conditions. It's a very bad thing to do. It doesn't matter how good the hat is, to be honest with you. No matter if the hat is all beaver or a beaver with a little bit of blend of something else that makes it water resistant or impermeable, you do not want to be taking your hat out into massive rainstorms, unless it's a rain hat. If it's a rain hat, it's been treated for it, so it's not going to really affect the hat that much. But any fur felt hat, you want to be a little careful about bringing it out into wet and rainy conditions. Because while the hat itself will ultimately be fine, the shape of the hat will negatively be altered by all the mishappenings and all the things going on around you. So you don't want to do that. You could put it on the counter back into the box so that it forms back into the shape that it was originally in before it got wet. But nature does what nature does, and your hat might end up a little bit more crooked than it was when you first started your journey, all right? Another one of the things you want to consider is the flexibility of the hat, right? Every hat is not necessarily a crushable hat. It's not something that you can take and you should pack away or store inside of luggage or anything like that. Some hats are built for that, right? Hats that I would personally recommend that are built for that are hats that are made of light felt, very high quality wool, so that it has flexibility. Most hats like that are machine pressed, so you're not really going to be affecting the hat much if you decide to take it, put it in your suitcase, or decide to quote unquote roll it up, which is something that a lot of the hat manufacturers suggest. But over time, what happens is the hat gets beat up. No matter how good the hat is, once you take something and roll it up over and over and over again, it loses stability. It loses ability to keep its form and keep its shape in an active, in an active way, in an active situation. So you don't want to be doing that. You want to be very mindful of hats that are crushable and hats that aren't crushable. Generally, a good telltale sign is that the crushable hat will not have a leather band on the inside. It will not have a leather sweatband, much like you see on my piece here. It will probably have a cloth band, and more time than not, it won't be made from fur felt. A lot of the time, a lot of the crushable pieces are going to be made of wool. Because the wool just handles that kind of thing better. Some are made of fur felt too, but then again, you raise the cost of your hat, and then you raise the quality of your hat. I don't think anybody wants to be rolling up something that they paid a couple $100s for. That's it looks cool, I guess. It looks like you got it like that, but you don't really need to be abusing your hat to that nature. A high quality hat should be handled with care and should be handled with absolute positive attitude, man. You can't go into, you can't get a Borsellino and then immediately want to crush it and roll it up. Enjoy your hat for a little bit, the way it comes out of the box. And then after a little while, as I usually tell you guys, you got to put your own spin on it. You got to put your own sauce on it. So we're going to be moving on to the next part of this, where I'm going to be demonstrating a lot of the. I'm going to be talking about some of the don'ts, the absolute do not do's of the hat world, guys. And this is going to be extremely helpful because you buy your hat. There is an instruction manual that comes with it. There isn't anything that's telling you what to do or not to do. That's why you gotta come see us, man. You know what I'm saying? Come to your local hat shop. Come mess around with your hatters. Even give us a buzz. Reach out to us on social media so that we can give you some tips and tricks into taking care of your hat. I'm going to be going over that, and I'm also going to be going over some cool at-home things that you can do to take care of your hat. You don't necessarily need all the facilities that we have here to maintain your hat. There's a lot of things that you can do in between coming to see us to make sure that your hat looks absolutely supreme. So we're gonna move on to the next stage, guys. I'll see you guys in just a second. All right, guys, let's get back down to business and talk about a lot of the do's and don'ts when it comes to handling your hat. Mainly the don'ts. A lot of the do's are pretty easy, but we went over a few things already. I'm going to be using this one to demonstrate for us today. Remember, we're not ever grabbing this by the pinch. We're always grabbing this by the brim, and we're making sure that we stay away from grabbing it by the pinch. The reason being is if you grab it enough times by the pinch, you'll ultimately put a hole into the center of your hat. Trust me, I've done it before. You don't want to ever get to that point where you're putting a hole into the middle of your hat. You also want to be mindful of who's touching your hat. A lot of people are going to see your hat, they're going to be intrigued, and they're going to want to grab it. You got to set some rules for yourself so that not everybody's grabbing at your hat. So that's one of the main things, keep an eye on your hat. You never want anybody mishandling your hat. All right, so the absolute don't do's in the hat realm. You never, ever, ever, you never want to spray your hat with hat repellent or water repellent or any kind of sealant that seals your hat. It absolutely abuses the hat, and it doesn't allow you to clean it and reshape it later on down the road. Kind of puts a bubble over it that doesn't really go away. You shouldn't wear your hat in the rain. Speaking of water repellency, it's just not good for the hat, right? Wearing your hat in the rain puts your hat in absolute danger, deteriorates the felt over time, and then the shape gets messed up, and that's the biggest thing of them all. The next thing is you want to be mindful of where you place your hat. You never want to place your hat in any way that's compromising. Stay away from placing your hat on chairs. One of the other things to consider is the things that are around you, things that create nasty stains, like wine. If wine is there, if wine is somewhere, your hat should not be where wine is. It's an absolute no-go in the hat world. It's one of the hardest things to get out of anything, but once it seeps into that felt, it really, really doesn't come out. So you want to be mindful of things like that. You want to be mindful of stuffy places, closets, coat checkouts at restaurants, things of that nature. And definitely stay the hell away from overhead compartments while flying. They are the death of hats. I've heard more hat funeral stories from overhead compartments than I could think about. Fortunately for me, I'm one of I got my little skills and I'm able to bring these hats back to life. But sometimes the overhead compartment literally kills the hat beyond revival. So you can't really mess with the overhead compartments. Just be mindful of your hat. Invest in something like a hat box or a hat case, a durable one that's going to get you if you're traveling with your hats a lot. Or my preferred method of traveling with hats. I bring along with me one of those tote bags, right, that you would either get from a supermarket. I like the canvas ones, right, because it's a nice material. I use the canvas ones, and what I do is I slide my hat right into the bag there. I have a flat brim, so it makes it much easier. With fedoras, it's a little hard because it gets bent up. You don't want to put your hat down like this, where it's getting bent up by the sheer weight of its own body. You just gotta stay away from doing that. So with my flat brim, I usually just slide it into the tote bag. It stays flat, and I try to keep it on more flat surfaces. And then that's what I use when I'm putting it through the machine, for instance, when we're doing the security check, because the machine's dirty. It dirties up your hat very, very fast. You don't really want to stick your hat in there without something covering it, so the tote bag helps for that. But it also helps so that when I do get on the plane, I just take my tote bag and I hang it on the tray table so that it's just staying there right in front of my face. I don't put it under the seat because you might forget it. I don't put it on the seat, certainly not on the seat. One of the worst things that you can do is you can sit on your hat. or have somebody else sit on your hat. That's you don't recover from that. So you want to stay away from things like that. So those are like the worst enemies of hats. So yeah, when it comes to traveling, I like to use my tote bag, keep it out of the overhead compartment, and then I like to also use things like little, like things to kind of give it some do's. Let's talk about. I talked about a lot about don'ts. Let's talk about some do's, some things that you can do to your hat to make sure that your hat has a good rate of survival. When you're picking up and putting down your hat, you can either do one of two things. You can place your hat down on the counter upside down like this. This creates a good habit for you so that you constantly remember to grab your hat by the brim and then put it on when you're putting it on, either side of the brim or front of the back of the brim more stylishly. But you want to put your hat down on the counter like this. This generally applies to standard fedoras with a brim that has a snap to it, right? You can also, while your brim is snapped down, you can also put your hat down on the counter with the lip, the front lip of the hat sitting at the edge of the counter there so that it naturally just tapers down because of the curve of the surface that you're putting it on. You can put it down flat like this, but ultimately what happens with fedoras that have snaps, it kind of warps your brim a little bit. So flat surfaces, you put them down like, for flat surfaces, I should say, you put things like flat brims or brims that you want at a flat plane down on those flat surfaces. With fedoras, you want to go upside down and put your hat down like this, so that when you're picking it up, once again, you pick it up the right way. When you have your hat and you have your hat like this, for instance, flat on the table, one thing that you can also do is what I do with my hand is I take my hand and I cup it at the top of the crown, and then I kind of slide my hand underneath and then flip it over. This ensures that the hat is not affected, but I still have a nice firm grip. If you have bigger hands, it helps. Smaller hands, a little more difficult, but certainly do not do this. Do not start grabbing it there, right? And don't crush any hat that isn't made for crushing. I'm not the biggest fan of crushable hats in general, but they do serve their purpose. They do exist, and they're very comfortable. That's what they're primarily made for. They're made for comfort. Another tip while traveling that I can offer to you guys, if you are traveling, take a crushable hat. That's what they're made for. But what you want to do is you want to stuff smaller effects, socks and stuff like that inside of the crown of the hat so that it maintains the shape. You want to place your hat down into the suitcase. You want to pack around it. So these are overall things that you can do to care for your hat, and things that you shouldn't do to maintain the beauty of your hat and to make sure that your hat is looking really, really good at all times. It helps to protect the hat. Build these good habits, and I guarantee you your hat will last you 10, 15, 20 years if you're meticulous about it. If you're not, you could always come see me. The biggest rule that you have to follow and the biggest don't that you have to keep in mind, we'll start with the don't. Do not, I repeat, do not wait too long before coming to see us. If anything is wrong with your hat, you could try to fix it at home, right? And I'm hoping to, put these videos out to give you guys the ability to have the tools needed to give small maintenance needs at home a chance. But if something's really wrong with your hat, you gotta come see us. Drop by JJ Hat Center, email us or give us a buzz, and we should be able to help you through your problem without having you mess up the hat. You can also always ship your hats into the workshop here, and then we'll take care of the hat. You take care of the shipping, we'll take care of making sure your hat is good. So never go too long without coming to see your hatter. Always come see your hatter. That's one of the number one rules that you have to follow. Well, we can use our skills to make sure that all your hat needs are met to the absolute standard that they should be held at. So drop by the shop, man. Come see me, come see Van, come see Kevin. We're all here. We're all experts at what we do. We're all hat masters here at the shop. So come hang out with us, guys. From here, we're going to be moving on over to the steamer, so I can give you guys a good demonstration as well as show you some of those tools that I was mentioning that you can keep, that you have at home, that you can keep around to make sure that you maintain your hat to the best of your ability. So let's move over to the steamer, guys, and let's check out all the tools of the trade. All right, guys, welcome back to the demo part of the video. We're going to be doing little demos here and there from time to time just to show you guys rather than simply telling you guys all the stuff that we got going on. So right now, what we're going to do is we're going to list off a couple of house items that you guys can use to keep your hats maintained, as well as some other more specialty items that you guys can use down the line to maintain your hats. So I'm going to be starting off with one of the most familiar hat tools for us in the game, which would be our hat brushes. There are different types of hat brushes, and while we're here, let me go over each one. So this is a standard horsehair hat brush, right? It's very soft bristles on it so that it doesn't affect the hat, doesn't damage the hat, or scratch up the felt in any way, shape, or form. You don't want the felt to be looking all ashy. So this is one of the benefits of this. We have various different hat brushes here that I want to show you guys. This one is it's a little bit softer, right? So it's going to be taking big areas and just like sweeping big areas, while this one's a little sharper, a little a little stronger, a little more coarse, and this one has the ability to kind of really get into the felt and take off a lot of the residue, or a lot of the debris that's sitting on the felt of the hat. So this is very good for those things. You can go out there and get your own brushes for sure, or you could come see us here at the hat shop. We have an array of different brushes that you can use, and this is just your big wide brush. I like to use this one as the finishing touches. It kind of adds, it takes away all of the last little bits of debris that are there in one broad stroke. So after you've gone in there and detailed the hat, you use this to kind of finish everything off. Next one that I want to point your attention to is this one needs a little bit of help. This one it's a little done up. So we need to figure out how to get one, but it's good, it's okay, right? Because this is our super duper coarse brush. This is for getting in there and kind of really getting the debris out of there. Sometimes things are a little stuck. You might have to get in there and like give it a good heavy hand in order to remove the debris that's locked into the felt. You can use something like this, which is like level 1, right? You can use something like this, which is a hat sponge, which is kind of like a level, between level 0 and level 1, right? The hat sponge is a little bit, we'll put this in order like this, right? The hat sponge is somewhere in between here, as in it's a little bit coarse, but not as coarse as this one. But the hat sponge also has the ability, this is what you're going to be using to really be getting things that are stuck onto the felt out of there. It takes off a lot of debris at once. Sometimes I start the process by giving this a quick wipe just to like unlock all the debris and all the dust from the felt of the hat. I'm going to demonstrate this, of course, don't you worry. I use this to unlock all of the debris that's stuck onto the hat. Then I go in with this for the really, really heavy stuff, and I really like scrape it out with that. And then I use this brush to kind of brush everything off and go into those detailed areas, much like the crease where the crown and the brim meet. I want to go into that little area and brush it off, or sometimes some debris gets behind the bow of the band, and you want to get in there with this guy. And then this one is just your overall, as you're steaming, you're hitting this with this. This kind of brush just kind of brushes everything off while all the nap on the felt is raised. You want to use this to kind of brush everything off. And last but not least, this is the final touch. You want to just give it a little fairy touch. You know what I'm saying? Give it a little, little brushing, and just brush everything, all that little remaining debris right out of there and right off of your hat. There are 2 variations of these brushes here. As you can see, this is a lighter brush for lighter hats, as well as another lighter brush for lighter hats. But sometimes you got to get in there. I do suggest getting a separate hat sponge for your lighter hats and your darker hats. You definitely shouldn't be using the same brush that you're using for your lighter hats that you'll be using for your darker hats. So we have the entire layout, the entire collection here. Like I said, this is another one of the reasons to come see us if you have any hat problems, because I doubt that anybody's going to be going out there and searching for horsehair brushes. But if you are, have at it, guys. We used to sell them here at the shop. We're going to see if we can try to get our hands on some These are all the array of brushes that you can use, from the softest brushes all the way to the most coarse brush. And then I gotta mention this, right? But I gotta give you guys a little bit of a disclaimer before I have a lot of people sitting here rubbing the felt clean off their hat. There is another level beyond this, right? There's another level of coarseness beyond this. What I recommend in some extreme cases, and I mean extreme, when something really can't come out and you want to get into the felt a little bit, you might have to remove a half a little layer of felt from the area on the brim or on the crown. You use a little bit of sandpaper. Now, the grit is not necessarily all the way important. It is important in the realm more. It's more so important in the realm of millinery design rather than just fixing some smuts off your hat. So you can use something with a little bit of a tooth. This is a 150 grit. Not sure if that's all the way consistent, but it's a 3M 150 grit if you're going with 3M. But you want something that has a little bit of grit to it so that you can get into the felt and really get those heavy areas out. Something that's really stuck to the felt. You don't want that kind of stuff happening all the time, so it's not the easiest thing to demonstrate. But I do have a hat that I want to show you guys and use all these beautiful tools at my disposal to make sure that you can get that at-home clean. If you do not have an array of brushes, if you cannot access a set of brushes, you can also use a hairbrush that you can acquire from your regular beauty supply. Now, with that, you have to be extremely careful. You have to get something super duper soft, preferably something with a handle. The ones that you hold with your hand, that you hold like this, they are not the best. Those are more surface area rather than preciseness, like how these skinny brushes are. So you want something with a little bit slimmer, right? I think this might have even been a hairbrush at one point, and it's whatever it is now. So a hairbrush can easily make your life a little easier. So if I had to arrange all the different brushes and how to use them, these are for my light colors. These are for my darker colors, right? Then this is a more precise, detailed brush that you can use for lighter or darker colors. We predominantly use this one for darker colors. And then you have your hat sponge, which is an amazing tool to have. They sell them all over the web. They have light ones and dark ones. I suggest getting the light one for the light hats, the dark one for the dark hats, as you probably would, assume. And then we have your standard, very hard, very coarse hair brush that you can use for a myriad of applications, followed lastly by your last resort, which is a little bit of sandpaper. Now, what you want to do with the sandpaper is you don't need to use this entire thing. You could either use some scissors and cut it down, but we're just going to give it a little trim here. This is about all the sandpaper that you'll ever need for any one hat. You don't ever need to go over this amount of sandpaper. You can use it and you kind of bend it in half, and then you kind of want to take it in a bit of a circular motion, right? So once again, I'll demonstrate, you know what I'm saying? But this is all the sandpaper we'll need for this demonstration today. I'm gonna throw all my hat brushes back into the hat tin here, and we're gonna move on to some of the other things that you can use at home to maintain your hat. One of my favorite tools in preparing hats and fixing hats will be the tape. The tape, or a lint roller, or some kind of adhesive strip that you can use to delint your hat, right? I'm gonna save this more so for the demonstration, but the tape is a very cool at-home item. Everybody got tape in their house, or at least you should. If you don't have any tape in your house, God bless. You should have a little bit of tape in your house. It comes in handy. So one of the biggest at-home tool that you can have to clean your hat off would be the tape. Now, the tape does a lot of what the brush does without, without getting as detailed as the brush can. So I use a combination of the two. I start off with the tape, I start off with this just to raise the nap. Then I go with the tape. I lift up all the debris, and then I go into it with the brush and finish it off, right? So you got your tape. Hat sponge is I'm not sure whether to classify the hat sponge as a specialty item or as an at-home item, but you can get these relatively easily. I see these around all the time. Don't use a regular sponge, I'll tell you that much. Guys are probably asking at this point, but LG, I've seen you use steam. I've seen you use the almighty steamer in order to achieve the look that you want to achieve when it comes down to your hats. Well, you don't necessarily have to use the almighty steamer, because not everybody has an almighty steamer in their house. Hell, not many hat shops down nowadays have an almighty steamer at their disposal. So you want to use something
like this. And shout out to my twin. She got me this for Christmas because she know me like that, and she knows what's best for me. This is a handheld garment steamer. It's a small one, but it's a very good one. This one is from Continental. If you want some type of brand identity or whatever the case may be. There are millions of these on the market. You can get this from almost anybody. This particular one is from Continental. I like it. It's a small handheld tea kettle style steamer. So you ever hear people talk about, oh, you can use your tea kettles to steam hats? Questionable. You can, but do you really want to? No, just get one of these. These are about maybe 10 to 20 bucks. I haven't seen anything over that, so you can use something like that in order to get the look that you want, the effect that you want with the steam. So we turned it on, and I just turned it on for now to give you a quick demonstration of how powerful this little handheld steamer could be. It's not the almighty steamer, but this little steamer got a lot of kick. This little engine could. All right, and then the last thing that I want to introduce before the steamer gets too hot is your tweezers, little tiny knives, little cutters that you can use to trim off any excess loose threads. You never want to pull a thread because you pull that shit right out of its right out of what it's binding. So you never want to pull any threads. You kind of want to pick it up and snip the thread off, right? So this is a very effective tool that most households should have, but something to keep on hand. If you don't have something like this, a pair of scissors work too, preferably a smaller pair of scissors. Now that our little steamer has kicked up and has gotten started, I'm gonna bring over something so I can give you guys a bit of a demonstration into how to take care of your hat at the house, right? This is the LG #1. I'm gonna show off the little baby steamer for a little while so we don't kill all our water. It doesn't hold that much water, so we want to conserve. This is the Ligardy #1. If you got anyone who's known me for a little while, recognize this hat. This is my very first fedora. This is the very first hat that I got once I started working here at JJ Hat Center. This was initially a crushable piece, right? Remember talking about crushables earlier. This is an example of a crushable that was very, very good at crushing, and it was a fur felt, but I haven't seen this in a while. This was the Explorer, the Adventurer line. That line, you remember that? If you guys are old school customers, you will definitely remember that. This was our answer to the crushable Borsalinos that were out there. Made in Spain by the Fernandez de Rocher factory, right? So no leather sweatband on the inside, and definitely no lining. More time than not, they don't have a lining, right? This is the very first hat that I've got. This hat has been shaped a million different times, and I finally retired on this, this diamond shape, which is cool. I really liked it at the time. Now, not saying that I don't like it now, but as you can see, for the purposes of this demonstration, I have definitely left this hat out for a while. Slightly on purpose, slightly not on purpose. This hat has been out for a little while, sitting on its crown like this. Has accumulated quite a bit of dust and extra felt that has been floating around here in the shop. I let this hat get extremely dirty. I ain't even gonna hold you, just so I could come here and clean this and make this look as good as I possibly can right here, right on camera for you guys. So you see what you can do at home, right? You don't really need a lot to get this kind of work done, but a little bit of TLC is all you need at home. And all these small items I just mentioned are gonna go to, to making sure that you can take care of your hat and make sure that it looks good. So we're gonna prop it up right here. You can do one of two things when you're taking care of the hat. You could either pop the shape out. My shape is a little complex, so I'm gonna leave it there. If you're skilled enough to get all up in here, you don't have to pop the crown out. If it's a standard fedora, pop the crown out. It helps tremendously. But yeah, we're gonna keep it like this. My shape is a little too complex. I can't do that without undoing this. So this hat is actually, we pulled it out of the case. This hat is actually technically retired. So we've gone on to bigger and better things. I remember telling you guys a little earlier, we're gonna start off with a little bit of our tape. We're gonna get that ready. I remember telling you guys earlier that not to really wear your hat in the rain, no matter how good the hat is. So I kind of, I wore this in the rain, right? And it had a lot more of a flange to it. I set it down on the counter. When I came back the next day, it was flat, right? And this is where my flat brim journey officially began, because without this little mishap happening to this hat, I would never be turned on to flat brims the way I am now. Now, flat brims are my signature hat. So I kind of use, let me stop ranting and telling you guys stories and stuff like that. I'm using my my hat sponge here to kind of just lift off all that initial debris. Now, I'll bring it up to the camera. This hat is filthy, but I've knocked off all those heavier layers of debris with the hat sponge here. Kind of just got everything all at once. It's coarse, but not too coarse, right? Now, say for instance, if I had an even bigger stain, something that was a lot more healthy and strong, I would take this and I would kind of dive into it with that. This allows me to take off those bigger stains, right, in larger areas too. So if you have like a really big stain, you want to hit it. And I always like to go in a circular motion, as well as keep in mind that when you are brushing, as the hat is pointing downwards, as the front is pointing downwards, you want to go counterclockwise, right? You want to go counterclockwise when you're brushing it, right? Just to keep the felt going in all the same direction. And then when you flip it on the opposite side, I think you're going clockwise on this one. So it's in reverse. Do keep that in mind. It raises the nap or it slicks the nap back into shape. You'll see it as you're brushing along, but you would use this heavier brush if there are any big stains that are really, really messing with your hat. You would get up in there with this and get it out of there. So once we have everything kind of rustled up and we've raised the nap a little bit, we're not ready for the steamer yet. We're gonna take our tape here, right? We're gonna take our tape and we're gonna make a tape, tape brass knuckle, right? A tape knuckle. We're gonna take the tape knuckle and we're gonna roll it across the hat, and we're gonna give a similar effect to what would happen if you use a lint roller. Now, you could use a lint roller as well. The problem is you'll run out of lint rolling paper way too fast, and then it's just gonna have to keep buying lint rollers. So a gigantic roll of tape will last you what 100 lint rollers will last you. So you want to take your tape and then you're gonna roll over the felt. As you're rolling over the felt while the nap is raised, right, it's gonna be removing all the debris. Like, look at that. Look at all that debris there. And on darker hats, it's sometimes a little harder to see unless it's like whitish debris. But yeah, man, these felt pieces hold a ton of debris. So you want to use your tape and then de-lint everything. So let's go through that and get all of this out of there, right? And remember, you got to replace your tape, right? Because after the tape gets a little too dirty, you're just essentially sweeping dust over dust. So we're going to take our piece of tape, throw it to the side there. I'm not going to throw it away just yet. We're going to wait till we gather all of our pieces of tape by the time it's done. Now, remember what I was saying a little earlier about this little area here behind the bow. This area tends to accumulate a lot of dust and debris and tends to kind of gathers back there and under there. So you want to make sure that you use one of your brushes to get underneath there. That's the spot that most, people get their hats cleaned, but that's the spot most hat cleaners and stuff like that. There aren't too many of us, but people be missing that. I'll be seeing that. I'll be seeing the videos, man, on Instagram, and I'll be seeing dust behind your bow. I'll be having dust behind your bow, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a good look. It's not a good look at all. So you want to get into these crevices here. The tape allows you to do that because you can really like throw it on your finger there, and you want to slide within the crevices here of the hat and lift up all that debris. You want to slowly go, or little taps and stuff like that, so that way you pick up all the debris. Use a combination of both, man. I'm a very thorough guy when it comes to cleaning my hat, so I want to make sure that not a single piece of debris is left in sight and to the naked eye. There's always little bits and pieces in the mix, but you don't want it to be noticeable to the naked eye. So just from that alone, take a look, guys, of the stark difference between this area in the felt and this area in the felt. Kind of see an instant before and after, but we're not done. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not done. Just simply using the tape to clean it up is not the end all be all. So reload our tape one more time, and we're gonna get up in there and we speed this little taping process up a little bit more. But yeah, man, this was my very first hat. This hat is the gateway to all the other hats that I have. It's also the precursor to a lot of the current hats that I own. The shape should be familiar to you guys. If you've seen my burgundy piece, it's in the similar diamond shape. In fact, I think I ultimately settled on the diamond because I was opening through boxes and sifting through boxes, and then I found this. And it's been sitting there for a while. Like I said, this is a Holy Grail hat. This is my very first, so it's been sitting there for a while. And then when I saw that, I was just like, let me reignite that diamond crown and put it on something well deserving of it. You know, shine bright like a diamond, they say. So yeah, man, getting most of this debris out with the tape. And then yeah, that's your top, and then that's your bottom. This is your before, and this is your in the middle. You know what I'm saying? So let's get to this area here. This surface area has to be cleaned a little bit with the tape. So let's bust that out. And then while we're doing that, we're gonna activate our little handheld steamer again, so that when it comes time, we can put some steam on this baby and clean it up for real. You know. What does the steam do? So the steam does a few things. The steam deodorizes as steam does, but you need very hot steam for extended periods of time for that. What we primarily use it for here is to, one, soften up the body of the hat so that you can reshape it, make it more malleable. And then two, we use it to raise the nap on some of the felt bodies in order to get in there with our brushes and other tools of cleaning to get all of the debris that's nestled within the fur felt of your hat, or your wool felt of your hat, whatever kind of felt it is. We want to, we do that. We raise the nap to do that. Now, you can start by raising the nap, but I wanted to show you guys a dry version first, because some hats don't take steam very well, especially our beloved flat brims, man. You want them to stay flat, so you kind of don't want to warm them up and have them super malleable and kind of weaken the stiffening aspect of it. So flat brims do not take steam very well sometimes, so light little bits of steam help the flat brim, and too much steam will definitely lose you that iconic flat silhouette. So you ain't gonna get that, you ain't gonna get too much of that. All right, so the tape session is all done. Cannot forget this. Don't forget the edge of the coin, guys. You gotta use your tape, you use your tape knuckle to run the tape across the edge here, picking up the debris along the edge. Debris gathers here too, especially on like this one is a stitched edge, especially on the stitch edge. The debris is literally getting underneath the string that's stitching the hat. On a raw edge, you see it a whole lot more because there's a lot more surface area along that edge there. So you kind of use your roll, you use your tape knuckle to roll across the hat here and get all that little debris and get it up out of there. So now that the tape session is done, we're gonna toss a little piece of tape over to the side. We'll sweep it up later. Now the tape session is done, we can take our steamer here. And this is what I like about this, because you can literally hold the steamer here. This is a plug steamer. It is not a wireless one. So yeah, be careful. Make sure you plug into a good outlet that's not gonna short out or do anything weird like that. You are playing with water and electricity. Do weird things with each other that are not too good for us as humans. So you can run this steam along the hat here, right? I'm not sure if you guys can see this. You might even need a little macro camera here, but this raises the felt, right? You can kind of see it because the moisture is kind of locking into something and sitting right above the felt there. So it raises the nap on the felt, right? And at the same time softening it. So once the nap is raised, we can put our little steamer down right quick, and then we can grab one of our brushes here, our softer brush, right? And then get up in there and start sweeping away everything that's available there. So now none of that debris should be locked in anymore. We use the tape, we use the hat sponge here, we possibly use the harder hat brush to dig up into the felt and get all that debris up out of there. So now when you're taking it over with the soft brush, everything just sweeps right off, man. I wish, you guys can see this super up close, but all the debris is just leaving the hat as I'm sweeping along. It wouldn't do that otherwise. It would not move at all if I just simply swept it with the brush first. It's absolutely crazy how that works. So yeah, use the steamer, raise the nap, and then you can use a brush. It's a more detailed one, a little coarse, more detailed one. You want to use this. You want to get up underneath that bow, man. You want to get up underneath that bow. Dusty bow Dusty bows are not a good sign of a good hatter. You want to make sure all that debris is gone. If it's a feather there, you want to take the feather out, get up in there, and get all the dust and debris up out of there. But you hear the noise that it's making, right? Full sweeps along with this one, as this one is a bit more coarse. So this one is not for the faint of heart, man. It gets that debris up out of there, man. It's just like raid for dust and debris, man. So boom. We use that guy to kind of get up in there because this is the sharper brush, right? This is the more coarse brush. Use it to get into those crevices. If you have pork pies and other hats that have deep crevices, telescope crowns, you want to get up in there with this brush here because it's a little more, like I said, a little more hard, so it gets everything up out of there. So you want to take that. Remember how this side is a little messy? I'm probably going to go into it with this one more than anything, right? We need a little bit more juice, so we're going to activate our steamer, wait for it to bubble up. But yeah, man, we want to use the slightly more coarse brush on this area, and then we want to go in circular motions here, right? You're kind of shifting the nap of the felt. It's okay because we're going to be brushing it back the right way once we get all the debris up out of there, man. The main thing is the debris. You can always sweep the nap of the felt back into position, but you want to get up in the felt and get all that debris up out of there. All right, our steamer is cooked up. You see why I like this? This thing cooks up absolutely fast, man. Don't take time at all. A good little preheat should work and should help to get it done faster, but you saw how fast it went. This thing only took like a minute or two before steaming up and warming up and firing good levels of steam. Now, remember what I told you, if you steam too much, it starts to curl the brim, so you don't want to do that, especially with your flat brims. We can be a little lenient today because this hat is a soft body, so it's okay, it can take it. So we're going to hit it with some steam, and then we're going to go back over with our coarse brush. And like I said, look. You see how that's just flying off of there? You see how that's just flying off of there? It's not sticking around, man. This is the dust and debris killer, man. This hat came in here looking crazy, and now it looks right, you know? So, all right. We use our two brushes, and then for the finishing touches, we bring our, yeah, I heard of Salt Bay, there's Hat Bay. We bring in Hat Bay over here, Hat Bay. We're gonna sweep all that debris away and have your hat looking absolutely pristine, right? No dust, no debris, right? We bring hats back to life here at the shop, right? These are all little things that you can do at home besides the myriad of different brushes that I have. All of this is accessible, right? This Continental baby hand steamer, absolutely accessible, very inexpensive thing to get. These hat sponges, they're all over Amazon for the low. You can get yourself a good brush off of Amazon as well. So just give it a hat, give it a search, hat brush at Amazon. But yeah, man. So after all is said and done, these are the type of results that you can get from a hat that started off looking a little mangy and a little crazy, right? This is absolutely gorgeous. Give it a little bit more steam, give it a little bit more love. Yeah, I'm not gonna leave it. Yeah, you remember? Yeah, there's things that you definitely shouldn't do. One of those is leave your hat outside of the hat box. As you can see, if you leave it there for a couple weeks, it will accumulate more dust than you can even think about. A lot of debris and a lot of stuff floating around in the air, man. You don't want it in your lungs, and you don't want it on your hat. So make sure your hat's clean lungs for everyone. Yeah, so this hat is good, baby. Like, got everything settled. And one of the main parts of being a good hatter is making sure that you have a good organized space so that your hats don't look cluttered, don't feel cluttered. But yeah, man, these are the little things that you can do at home to maintain your hat. Now, as a special bonus, right, we're gonna get this darker hat out of here, and I actually have to give a little touch up on my lighter hat, so you guys get to see a little demo of that too. So this hat here, it has been in this box, but even in the box, it also can accumulate a little bit of debris and a little bit of dust. So we're gonna be using the same exact method, ladies and gentlemen. Not much is gonna change here. But with these hats, right, with these lighter color hats, your silver belly and all that, the debris just comes through. You see all that, the darker colored debris there, and you'll see a difference once I kind of sweep it up and kind of hit it with the tape. So we're gonna get to that, and yeah, man, just pay attention for a little bit. Now, I'll tell you a funny story about silver belly, white, and lighter colored gray hats, right? gotta be careful with them, right? For some strange reason, birds love to make this their absolute supreme target from the sky. They can't miss. You feel me? It's either you're gonna get hit or you're not gonna get. It's either they're not aiming for you and you're not gonna get hit, or you're gonna get hit. All right. So I took a little bit off with the tape, so let me bring that closer to you again. This is the side that we just hit with the tape, right? And then this is the side without the tape. You see all that dark colored debris all along the hat, little pieces of dust and shit that's floating around in the atmosphere. You don't want any of that on your hat. So use the tape. Now, as you're using the tape, you're seeing like this kind of white powdery substance. They treat it with a little bit of a powder to ensure that the silver belly stays nice and white. So back to the initial story, right? The reason I mentioned that these guys are a massive target for bird shit is because it happened to me. I would never tell you guys something that hasn't happened to me personally. So these are my stories that I share with you so you wouldn't have to go through these moments. I go through it so you wouldn't do it after me. But I'm walking down the street. I just bought this hat, right? Not but 5 minutes after I walk out into the streets, right? And I'm standing next to a building, which you kind of shouldn't do, right? And I'll show you this thing. Nobody would know it's there except for me, but I'll show it to you. A little secret between you and I. But yeah, man, I'm walking, minding my own business. Suddenly I hear a heavy drop of something, liquid, water. Couldn't have been water, because water's not that heavy. Like, you know what a raindrop feels like. It does feel like 10 raindrops in one. I was just like, this can't be. Pull my hat off. It's all green. It's all weird. It's different colors. Man, I've never ran home so fast in my life. I was out. I hopped on the bus halfway, then the bus got into traffic. I had to hop off the bus because I could run faster than the bus could. I got home and I went in with my hat sponge to the likes of which I've never gone before. The best idea would have been to simply let it dry for a little bit and then kind of wait for it to get out, but I was not playing, man. I was hesitant about buying a silver belly hat at first. I finally built up the courage to get one, and in 5 minutes after I walk out the store, I get dropped by a bird. So I'll bring it to you guys. I'll show it to you guys. This is the remnants. I don't know if you can see it, and if you can't see it, great. The illusion has worked, and I have cleaned this to the best of my ability. But that little spot right there, that little greenish, darker spot right there on the silver belly is where that bird got me. So be careful when you're wearing lighter colored hats, ladies and gentlemen, because birds love to use this as a personal target for human beings. Maybe it was their beef from the cowboy era. I don't know what it is about silver belly hats that does it like that to birds, but birds just love just dumping on these. I ain't the only one this happened to. I've heard several of these stories come in from customers. It's slightly hilarious when it happens to you, when it's already happened to you, I should say. It's not hilarious as it's happening to you. It's definitely not hilarious in real time. All right, so we pretty much got all the debris out of there in the course of my extremely long silver belly story. But yeah, man, this is how you take care of a lighter color hat. You could be a little more gentle with this, right? Unless there's a big stain there, you don't want to use your two harder brushes, which is why I think we don't have any of those harder brushes in the lighter colors, because you don't really want to do that. The tape kind of takes off most of it, and then everything else will inevitably come off after you steam it a little bit, and then after you hit it with its own personal lighter colored brush. You do not want to be grabbing the crown of something like this. You'll leave all the oil and all the other things that are on your fingers right on the top of the hat, right in the middle of the hat. It looks terrible. So you want to chill when you're doing that. You don't want to be too grabby with your silver belly pieces. Definitely doesn't help. All right, so we're getting down to the last little bits of things. Like I said, you want to make sure you get into those crevices. That's where the dust likes to live. And it might give you a little extra shadow than you want on your lighter colored hat, man. It's definitely not the best look. So we get up in those crevices, we get all that dust and debris up out of there, and then we'll move forward to the next part of the hat. Now, silver belly is an interesting color. It's what most would refer to as white, but it's not white. It's actually a bit of a creamish color. And yeah, man, it's a beautiful color. I don't think pure white is nearly as pretty as this, but it gets dirty fast, just like pure white does. So you don't want that. All right. Okay, now that that little area has been taken care of, we're gonna move on to the bottom of the brim. With that said, we're gonna turn our little baby steamer back on. Yo, this Continental steamer is absolutely fire. Shout outs to you, twin. You are the best. You know me well, and this is one of the best Christmas gifts I've ever received in my life. See, I'm a little older now, so I don't need much to make me happy. But good handheld steamers. That really does it for me, man. So if you're trying to win my love and affection, you know, it don't take much. What it does take is you guys hitting those buttons down there, the like button, the subscribe button, so you can keep up with me and more content. It's an interesting time to plug that in, but that's what came to my mind exactly as I was getting through that hat. But yeah, man, that's the best way you can help the channel grow, is to bring you positive and absolutely helpful hat content, and keep bringing you that kind of stuff, man. The hat world and the hat community is a little bit small, so the more of us. Oh, I think I might have exhausted all my water. We got a little bit of, no? Don't use the steamer, but don't just let it sit, man, like I did just now. You run out of water. We don't really need steam anyway, all right? Because we got most of the debris out. My hat was just afflicted by New York City debris, that's all. So we don't necessarily need to go hard with the steamer like we did with the other one. So go in there with your brush and kind of give it a nice wide brushes, and then sweep all of the rest of that debris out of there, man, and make sure that your hat looks pristine. Okay. That's pretty much all you need. My band keeps slipping, so we're gonna adjust the band there. And then now we bring in Mr. Finishing Touches here, which takes care of the last little bit of debris here on the hat. Okay. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. My hat is back to normal. So yes, these are all the tips and tricks, all the small, lightweight cleaning techniques that you can do at home to make sure that your hat looks good. These are all items that can be found relatively easily. These are items that most of you already have inside of your houses. But in case you wanted some recommendations, as far as the hand steamer goes, I highly recommend this small baby Continental steamer. As far as tape goes, I recommend something that has a good adhesive nature to it, but not overly adhesive. You don't want to be ripping felt clean off of your hat. You want something like this packing tape that we have here. Masking tape helps too, but masking tape is a little light and doesn't take off nearly as much debris as the packing tape does. The packing tape, you just got to be a little softer with the application of it. As far as sandpaper goes, like I said, this 3M 150 is what we've been using here at the shop, so that is what I would personally recommend. As far as brushes go, I always recommend horsehair #1. That's the best kind of hat brushes that you can get on the market. But synthetics are good too. You don't want them to go out there and start, ripping hair off the horse's butt, just so you can have a good hat brush. There are other ways to get it. The synthetic brushes are also nice. They work just as well. As long as the brush is soft, you could even, like I said, you could even use a hairbrush, but you have to make sure that it's super duper soft and you're not using it on your hair as well as on your hat, or else you're gonna end up with silver belly colored hair. That's not what you want at all. But yeah, man, this will conclude our little lesson today, and this will conclude episode 2. We got a few cool new things coming into the shop, and we have a bunch of new activities that are going to be coming moving forward. On the 20th, around the 20th, I should say, should be the Fashion Week season over in New York. So we're going to be doing something big for Fashion Week. Look forward to that. Absolutely keep up with us on Instagram, keep up with us on Facebook. Definitely keep up with me on YouTube here. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. Make sure they all know all this knowledge about hats. Most people don't know how to handle hats. Here you have a full-blown instruction manual. It's not only how to handle your hat, but how to take care of your hat. All right, guys, this has been Ligardy from Ligardy's Hats. Once again, I am signing out. I'm going to take my beautiful silver belly here, and we're going to go enjoy the rest of the day. And you do the same, guys. We'll catch you here next week on Hat Masters. Peace.